Hi, this is John McEUEN from the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, and you're looking at Pavlina's Kidz Place. And I think you ought to keep looking. She finds a lot of good stuff. It's a Beatles week, you know, so.
Oh, yeah, of course. I don't know,
Never played it before, so it's fun to think of.
Yeah, definitely. That's amazing. And the whole time I was setting up, you were playing it. It was really good. What kind of guitar is this?
This is a national guitar. It's made to be like one from the 30s.
Wow. Yeah, I was gonna say it's really like unique looking. It's like really.
And it sounds pretty. Sounds different, you know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love it. And what is it made of? It's not like the wood. It's metal.
It's made out of metal and has a round plate here. And this is a resonator. It's actually called a resonator guitar. And they made it back in the 30s so a guitar could be loud.
You just heard a little bit of John from the legendary band, Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. So we're here in Orlando, by the way. Just thought I should mention that. So your band's kind of a tongue twister. How did you come up with the name?
It's very simple. The band had won a talent contest and had some jobs being offered and needed a name.
Really?
And one guy said, Jimmy said, why don't we call it the Dirt Band? And one guy said, let's call it Nitty Gritty Band. And then they said, well, let's Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. So that's about how long it took.
Wow.
30 seconds, maybe.
That's crazy. Oh my gosh, because like a lot of bands, like sometimes they'll have like this deep process, but you guys just kind of like squish it together. I like it though. That's cool.
Well, when the group started in 1966, everybody was a lot younger. In fact, one guy was your age. He was a junior in high school. One was a senior. I was in my second year of college. Jeff was in his first year of college. And three of us have been together since 1966. And our keyboard player, Bobby, has been there since 78 or so.
Yeah. Wow, that's a long time. You guys, like, do you guys ever get tired of each other? That's a long time.
Probably.
Yeah.
But we also know we have something unusual and special.
Yeah.
There's times when one person may not be getting along with another as well as they did a few months earlier. But we usually know when to stay out of the other person's way if that's the situation.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's a strange life because I've spent more time 3 feet away from Jeff and Jimmy than I have with anybody in my life.
Yeah.
It's on the bus when we're out on a bus tour, for instance. They're in the bunk above and the one across the hall. And there's a lot of hours in that.
Like folk music and rock music at the time, it didn't really mix together. So was it popular when you guys like first started?
We were doing a lot of jug band, 1930s music, funny songs, and then a few songs that were folk rock that were called that, but it was basically just us playing acoustic instruments. And one of them got on the radio, and we started playing and recording. That was on our first album in 1967, February 7th it came out. And the next 3 albums didn't do anything. And then on the 5th album, one called Uncle Charlie and His Dog Teddy, we did the song Mr. Bojangles. And that Jeff picked that one out one night he was driving home from rehearsal, because we were rehearsing for the album. I think that's the last time we rehearsed, but that was 1969. And he said he heard this song on the radio on some folky station, and we went and got it, and he learned it. And another guy that was hanging around the dressing room of a club we were playing in L.A., the Troubadour, he kept saying, you guys should do some of my songs, and I've got a bunch of songs, and you're doing it. It went on till I said, well, come up to my house in Laurel Canyon, and I have a tape recorder, and I'll record a demo. And I recorded him at 19 years old doing 7 songs, and we did 4 of them. And out of the 4, there was one called House at Pooh Corner that he'd written that was a radio hit for us. He did it later on his own. And one of the songs we turned down, Jeff didn't want to sing the one that goes, even though we ain't got money, I'm so in love with you, honey. It was Kenny Loggins, who I was recording. And we were the first group to record his songs. Also the first group to record Jackson Browne songs. Jackson later went on, as did Kenny, to have their own solid careers. And the Uncle Charlie album had 3 hit records, 3 radio songs on it that helped in 1970 establish a group as somebody that's out there working.
That's great. Yeah, I interviewed Kenny Loggins, and I remember that was a long time ago when I was like 12 or so, and I remember him mentioning you guys. Yeah. And I at the time I was just kind of like, I don't know, I was just like, I don't know, I just didn't know. And then I was like, and now it all makes sense. It's cool. So it's really cool. But like I didn't know you guys. You were like the first people to like help him out with everything. That's great.
He helped us out as much as we helped him out. And in fact, one way you can help people out sometimes is by doing nothing. Because Jimmy Messina, the guy he worked with, Loggins and Messina, before that group existed, Jimmy called me up and said, bring Jeff up here. We got a song. And they played us a song, and I said thank you and drove away. And as we drove away, Jeff said, I don't want to do that song. Anybody can write a song that goes, your mother doesn't dance and your daddy doesn't rock and roll. And I don't think it's a hit. I don't know if he said he didn't think it was a hit, but he said he didn't want to do it. And I called Jimmy to tell him, and he said, okay, well, we're going to put it out ourselves. And that was the beginning of their career with a giant hit, as you know. And we could have done that song, and maybe there wouldn't have been a Loggins and Messina.
Yeah.
Isn't that strange?
Yeah.
So if you believe in what you're doing, go ahead and do it. And that's what Kenny and Jim did.
So yesterday you guys were at the Orange Blossom Opry, but that's a completely different audience than tonight. Like it's like a little bit of an older audience, and then tonight's like a little bit of a younger audience. So like, and your band can really do that. So like how do you guys do that over the years and keep it going?
You know, I think if we knew how, we would amplify it and maybe get more of an audience. Everything's fine, and we're very lucky to have a good career with a lot of people that care to come see us. There was a couple people in the parking lot when I got here several hours ago, waiting to get albums signed.
Oh my
you know,
gosh,
and I thought that was very sweet. I mean, these were albums that they'd had for 30 years, some of them. And the Orange Blossom Opry is a different situation. It's an older audience for sure, which is fine, but it's in the middle of a lot of people. Retirees. And in general, we play festivals and clubs and places like tonight, and it's a much broader audience.
Did you get any oranges? Because they have all of those like factories, and it's a really cool little area.
No, I didn't. We just went there and played, did 2 shows.
Not too long, actually it was like last week, Pete Seeger, who I interviewed a couple, like 2 years ago, he passed away, and he meant a lot to your band. So what role did he play with your music, and what is something that, like, just personally that you remember about Pete?
Well, Pete was a wonderful guy. He influenced a lot of people. Even if all he had done was write the book, which he did, called How to Play the 5-String Banjo. I can't name the hundreds or thousands of musicians that I know that bought that book. Yeah. A little red book. It came out in maybe 60 or 61. Steve Martin and I both had one, and Steve and I went to high school together and have had a life and a careers that are parallel in some ways. My brother managed Steve and produced his movies and early albums, and I've known Steve since high school and that kind of thing. But if it hadn't been for that How to Play the Five-String Banjo by Pete Seeger, thank you, Pete, and he was a nice guy all the time. One time I was in doing a banjo thing called the Tennessee Banjo Institute. Hundreds of banjo players gathered to talk about the music, and there were workshops all over the park. And Pete and I had just finished a workshop, and I'm from LA, so I had a car, and I was driving the 100 yards to the next workshop. In LA, if you have a car, you get in the car to go across the street sometimes. And I pulled up next to Pete. He was walking that way. I said, "Hey, Pete, can I give you a ride?" And he looked up at the sky, and he looked at me in the car. He looked up at the sky. He goes, "It's a really nice day out here. That sun feels good. I think I'll walk, but thanks." And he walked.
Oh my God.
You know, it was just, and that was 10 years ago. I've never forgot it. I played with him in New York at a Why Hunger benefit. He didn't have to drive 2 hours down from his house to go play a few songs at a benefit, but Tom Chapin had asked him to, and I'm really glad he did, because I got a picture with Pete and Tom Chapin.
Yeah.
And he was just a nice guy that welcomed everybody.
Yeah, definitely. He was so sweet with me. Like I'll never forget how much. Like he was actually definitely one of the favorite people that I've talked to. Like I've talked with a lot of people, and I just loved talking with him. So that was amazing.
Not that it's needed, but something to make Kanye West look silly.
Yeah.
But his attitude sure would.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's funny to me is Kanye West thinks he's a really big, worldwide big shot, right? He'll never have the effect that Pete Seeger had. You have to accept the fact that if you're doing something you really like, a lot of people are going to say, "Why are you doing that? Now, you're never going to make that happen. Nobody cares about that." Our first review in Billboard magazine said, "They were entertaining, but it's doubtful they'll ever be captured on record." So this is our first review in the magazine about the music business before we made a record deal. We could have said, "Oh, we better not do it then."
Yeah.
We had reviews that were bad. Steve Martin used to get reviews that said, "Somebody should tell the comedian Steve Martin that jokes are supposed to be funny." You know, LA Times, for instance. That quite often people will tell you, don't do that. But they're more likely threatened by the fact that you're aggressive and you're doing something.
Yeah.
So I would say, keep in mind you need a certain amount of luck, but luck is made by doing things that bring that. You need timing. You need to be in the right place at the right time. So you need to look for those places, just like you found this place. And you started doing interviews when you were 12?
11. Yeah.
11?
So, yeah.
And did you start with one camera or two?
One.
Yeah. And now you're up to two, and you're doing it more, and you've got Final Cut. So you keep doing that. And I really believe you're going to be successful in what you're doing. And so what did we do? We'd put out an album. If it didn't do any good, we'd make another one. We'd make another one, and if it did some good, we'd go out and work, and you just keep at it. The biggest reward to me is being able to do it, to be able to play a neat room like this, because this is what I want to do. And along with that comes the fact that my children, like my granddaughter, could be here today. That's a big thing to me. And when my daughter shows up, when her mom or one of my boys are working with them, and we all feel like, see, this is what I do. This is why I was on the road. This is why I missed your birthday when you were 14, 15, 16, you know, different kids. But that reward comes from an audience that, like the guy I told you when we drove up here. When I drove up here, there was a guy that had been waiting a couple hours to get about 10 albums signed.
Yeah.
So that's a reward. The fact that he said, "I'm so glad you do what you do, because I don't have a job. I work for them."
Yeah.
And it's nice to know that the people you work for like what you do for them.
Yeah, exactly. And you know when it really all pays off when you feel like you have to go to work every day. It's just like,
Yeah.
how do you keep your music fresh over the years?
Well, I always try to write new things or come up with something. I bought this guitar last year because it sounds cool. And I don't think I played that lick before I had this guitar.
Oh, yeah.
and just put myself in spaces that are uncomfortable. By that I mean I've got to finish writing this thing that I have a deadline for. Even though I'm not maybe making it for someone, I'll give myself a deadline.
Yeah.
Like I've got to finish this. Because if I don't, why am I here? I need to make something new. I don't know if that's a how, but I would just say try to keep creating, try to be better. If I'm going to be out here doing this, I got to be the best me that I can be. Otherwise, I should stay home.
So everyone, we have just been talking with John from the legendary band, Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Pavlina. And see you down the road.
You and me going fishing in the dark.